Welcome back, I'm Dave and you're watching Table Ready Gaming. So today's video was requested by one of my new subscribers, Da Vinci, who in a comment mentioned wanting to see how I painted the WizKid Hellhounds. I love that YouTube is helping me take a hobby, which I love, but is traditionally kind of isolated and making it far more social. In this video, I'm going to show you what I think are 2 ways to put awesome paint schemes on these minis. So let's get down to the hobby bench and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so we're going to just jump into this. I started by putting down a coat of metallic orange from Green Stuff Worlds. This is a very easy paint scheme, but the end effects are pretty convincing. When you're painting these transparent models, I think it'd be a shame just to use primer and paint over them and kind of destroy the median. I kind of use the same philosophy when painting my water elementals, and I try to come up with paint schemes that improve on the casting medium, not simply cover it up. So when working with these minis, I think it's really important to scrape off any mold lines, as they really show up in the transparent sculpts. That being said, the newer WizKids sculpts are getting better and better. And there's very little mold lines on this miniature. Also, when you are finished painting this miniature, you're going to really want to make sure you seal it well, as this paint will rub off easier than it will from a traditional primed miniature. For the next step, I applied a wash of red from Secret Weapons. This brightened the metallic layer I put down first and helped define the muscles and other details on the minis. Right, so that's it. This is really super simple. You get a nice fire looking magic effect on these minis. But like I said, there's tons of awesome features on these minis. I want to come up with a new paint scheme that really brought out these details a little bit more, and made these monsters a little unsettling to look at. And I think I accomplished both. For the second paint scheme, I started with a mix of red ink and white to get a nice pink color in the base of the miniature. Then while the model was still drying, I would add more and more white to the white-red mix to get a lighter hue of pink, and proceed to highlight the miniature with lighter and lighter pinks. These highlights are a bit extreme and don't necessarily blend well. But that's okay, we'll fix it later. This is my first time trying this effect, so this is a total experiment for me. I've been looking for a model to try this on. I originally saw a similar paint scheme like this on some Dark Eldar racks, and I've been wanting to try it ever since seeing those miniatures. This project reminded me of a quote by Michael Jordan. Some people want it to happen, some people wish it would happen, and others make it happen. Now I'm sure you didn't expect a quote from an NBA superstar in a D&D miniature painting tutorial, but Michael was a pretty successful athlete, and I love the movie Space Jam. Plus, the man has a point. I think it's easy to get stuck in wanting and wishing for things to happen in life, whether it's a relationship, career, education, or even trying new hobbies. Bottom line is we can sit on the sidelines or we can wait our entire lives away. Reading how-to books or watching tutorials on YouTube is great, but the only real value comes from actually doing these things. This is probably going to become the new mantra of Table Ready Gaming, but if you want to do something such as be a miniature painter or anything else, just pick up the brush and begin. Don't be afraid of failure. Take this as an opportunity to learn and an investment in your education. Maybe you aren't starting with the best paints, or the best brushes, or the best priming techniques, but at least you started. Also, it's great to see what other miniature painters are doing, but I challenge you to look for inspiration outside your hobby and personal interest. In a world of aggregated news, I think it's really easy to get tunnel vision as we lock into only the things we personally enjoy, and forget that there's a few billion other people on the planet, and maybe they have ideas we can borrow, even if they aren't applying directly to our own passions. Not only does looking outside your own passion make you a better rounded individual, but it lets you bring something truly unique to your hobby, and start to help you develop your own style and flair. Personally, I do this by trying to read at least one nonfiction book a month, or listen to it while I paint minis and do the hobbies I love. This would be a great time to flash up an ad for an audible.com account and offer you a discount, but that partnership hasn't come out just quite yet. However, you could check out your local library. Libraries are an amazing resource, and if you haven't been to one in a while, you might be surprised at how much they have changed. My local library lets me rent audiobooks straight to my phone for free, without even having to visit their location, so be sure to check it out. So back to the painting tutorial. I needed to get those pinks blended back together, and I did this with a quick wash of Citadel's Carberg Crimson. This is straight from the pot, I didn't dilute it at all. After that, I decided to paint the hefty collar on the dog's neck. I used the metallic golds from Scale 75. I also went back and painted the collar in the fire-themed Hellhound, but decided not to include those as the same steps are here, and I feel like they contrast better with the paint scheme on this miniature not the other one. After that, I took the lighter metallics and highlighted the metal, focusing on where the light would hit the metal and where the metal would be worn down by usage. I chose green flames because I want to highlight that this isn't a natural creature of the material plane, but instead a spawn of something much more sinister, being of the lower planes. Also, since the majority of the Hellhound has a reddish or pink color to it, I feel like green is a good contrast, as it sits across from red on the color wheel. Red and green aren't two colors I get to use together very often, because they tend to make things look like Christmas, and Hellhounds aren't in the service of Old St. Nick. So while we're on topic of painting fire, I think it's an important opportunity to point out a common mistake I see from newer painters. Sometimes folks will paint flames on models like they are lit by an external light source. Highlights at the top, darks on the bottom. But flames are a light source, and if you look at fire, you'll notice that it's hotter and therefore brighter at the base, and gets darker towards the top outside of the flame. And I tried to apply that theory here. I think I could have carried it even further if I used it as an object source lighting for the rest of the model. However, object source lighting is a topic for another video. While we're on the subject of other videos, I'd like to take a quick moment to invite you to subscribe to my channel. If this is your first time watching a Table Ready Gaming video, then this channel is about helping folks get to the game table faster. We're building a great community of supportive folks, and I encourage you to join. Also, in this video, I'm trying to wear black gloves. There isn't really any hobby reason to do this, as these paints are perfectly safe to work with, but I thought perhaps the gloves would make the model easier to see on video. If you think it does or doesn't, please let me know in the comments. I'm also toying with switching the background to black rather than white. This YouTube thing is an ongoing experiment over at Table Ready Gaming, so be sure to leave feedback or requests for future content. So one of the last steps on this guy was painting all the bones an off-white. This color includes the Hellhound's spine, teeth, and claws. While researching for this paint scheme, I spent some time looking at medical drawings of human muscles, and I noticed they're both red and white muscles in the human body. So according to Google, white muscles have less capillaries, myoglobin, and mitochondria. These are fast twitch muscles, and since these dogs are fast, they need a lot of white muscles to be super twitchy. I didn't really have a plan on where I was going to add this color. I just thought I'd put it down where I thought it looked good. And I think this helps drive home the flayed skin look, and not simply a pink-skinned monster. I toyed with the idea of adding blood for the blood god for a gore effect, but in the end decided not to. If any of you try this on the flayed skin, and you like the results, I'd love to see it. Well, there you have it. I finished these models off by doing a two-part sealing process. These models don't have primer, so I want to make sure I lay down a good gloss varnish, then a matte varnish over top of it. That way, if I start to see glossy parts in the model, I know it's time to reseal it. I haven't based these minis yet because I have plans for that, and we'll see what comes of them. I'd like to thank DaVinci again for suggesting this video. These models were a lot of fun to paint and not something that I normally would have picked up. Oh, and one more thing before we call this a wrap. If you ever want to see how paints react on these transparent clear plastics, I find that painting the bits of the packaging these models come in will give you a pretty good interpretation of what the final product will look like. Anyhow, I'm excited to try these new color shifting metallics from Beanstuff World on other models and see what kind of effects I can get with them. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Anyhow, I'm Dave, this is Table Ready Gaming. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.